agenda.
Make a motion to approve.
Second the
All right.
motion. Yeah.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you.
Second.
And how about the minutes? Any corrections, or can we have an approval of them as submitted?
Make a motion to approve as submitted.
I second it.
Second.
All right.
I third it. Okay.
Great. So apparently we're going to do old business first according to our agenda. So does anyone have an item of old business they would like to bring up?
Andrew, this is Chris. I have
Of
all
course
this.
it is. I know. I recognize your voice, Chris.
All right. Last month we had someone discussing about the access to get to the elevator to Grand Central.
That was Ron.
Yeah. Just to let you know, we when Lisa and Stu and I, we went to do the tour. Before we did the tour, I did look at it. There is signage telling you a direction. It's not a permanent one because they're still working over there, but there is a temporary sign that tells you which one is to Grand Central and one to the exit to 42nd Street and Lexington Avenue. The problem is we've been seeing people taking, someone's been ripping them down.
These are printed or handwritten signs? Printed, right?
They're like temporary, not permanent. It's just like substitution signs.
I was there like two or 3 days ago. I also went on my own little tour after the the East Side Access Tour. And the signage is so much better than it was before. It's still not perfect. It can still be corrected. And you know me, I'm the biggest critic of all of it. But the signage really does, if you just follow the signs, and there are much more than one or two signs. Honest, at least this was, when was it, last weekend or what's today? Today's Thursday, so it had to be last Sunday or Monday. And the signage and it's permanent signage, which is really what's good.
Well, Chris is saying these are temporary signs.
Well, no, actually, Trudy is correct because I'm agreeing with Trudy on this. That day I was there, they were temporarily. They were supposed to put in the permanent ones, and Trudy is correct. They did. So in one way, I agree with what she's saying. She's right, 100%.
And what part of the terminal are we talking about?
It's the station.
It's the whole mezzanine. It's the whole mezzanine.
Oh, the mezzanine.
The mezzanine leading you to the downtown 456, the uptown 456, leading you into Grand Central Terminal if that's where you're looking to go. Also leading you to the shuttle. I mean, it could be, you could they can use the words rather than, if you really want to be express local or something, but it's as clear as it's going to be and so much better than it was before.
Well, this is great.
I'd say one of the things that Jano talked about yesterday at the board meeting was that the shuttle will finally be fully, and Andrew, you made sure that that the terminology was correct, that the shuttle will finally be fully accessible.
Yes, and the addition and the connection at the eastern end of Times Square on the shuttle with connecting to the BDF&M is going to be quite accessible and quite wonderful, actually, from the pictures we've seen.
On the 6th Avenue side.
Yeah.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
The elevator you were talking about, I know that there's an elevator in Grand Central that if you get off the shuttle at Grand Central and you walk all the way to the very eastern end of the station through that passage, there is an elevator that can take you up to ground level or get you into Grand Central. My question has been, that is a block or more out of the way. If you're just going up and going into the MetLife building or taking a train at Grand Central, that is a huge distance out of the way. Is there going to be any sort of elevator or escalator just at the eastern end of the shuttle where the stairs are?
Yeah,
right. Where something's needed.
I am told, because I use that all the time, And you, right now, on the eastern end, you have to walk up a small flight of stairs to get to the escalator. It should not be. I have brought that up a number of times, and there will be an elevator connection, or the escalator will be extended. I'm not sure that they know what it's going to be, but I am told, and Chris, maybe you can, go further into this, that there will be some kind of a connection between the shuttles.
I can answer this. The answer is, as part of the One Vanderbilt project,
exactly.
there will be access with an elevator and or escalators. Yes. It may be into the lobby of One Vanderbilt with then just a walk into the terminal, but there will be elevators.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, if that gets you there without going substantially out of the way.
Yes,
They
and
can
you
just-
won't have to walk to Lexington to get back.
And it will also connect with the existing elevator and escalator, so that they make a direct passage to and from One Vanderbilt. That actually was part of the whole East Midtown development agreement, that there would be that kind of
Right.
access. And I keep on nudging about it, and I am told, yes, it will happen. Maybe Andrew, you can find out the time.
I'll try to get a timetable as to when these things will be ready.
I've asked Jana also, but maybe you can find out, but it is definitely going to be happening, which will make life a lot simpler for somebody like me.
And
I
I would
basically-
also suggest, that the website, that the MTA website that talks about handicapped access at Grand Central be updated to show at least what's planned and how it's going to work.
It should never use the word handicapped.
Yeah, we're just using
Well,
accessible.
ADA,
It's
ADA or accessible.
Or it's people with disabilities, or other.
Okay.
David Jenkins' term was always the best. He
We'll
called
just
it
say accessible. I think that says it all.
other abled individuals is what he called it. But don't use the word handicapped, whoever said it just now.
My apologies.
And
All right.
as someone who is on crutches now, a short walk is a long walk.
Sure is.
So the smaller those distances can be, it makes such a difference.
Absolutely. Any other old business items anyone would like to bring up?
Sharon, why are you on crutches? What happened?
I fell. I tore my ACL, fractured my foot, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, my God.
Wow.
But
Well,
still
I have-
managing to maneuver
Hmm?
better than anybody I've seen.
Yeah, and
Hoping
well,
for a
when I have
speedy
Lisa to
recovery.
help me get a cab.
Well, please
Um,
take care. Please take
Andrew.
Yes,
care.
Stuart?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Stuart.
Andrew, I don't know if we specifically asked this of the police, but we were asking how they would be addressing patrons who were not wearing masks, and I've ridden other lines recently, other than the traditional ones that I normally ride, and people are really not complying with the continued mask mandates. I was on the crosstown line. They did have the announcements on the platform that masks are still in use. However, there was nobody there enforcing mask wearing rules. Have we heard anything more at the board level or from the police? About
That issue was raised by some public speakers at the board, and it was addressed, but not in the way that I think would satisfy everybody. Yes, it is still a mandate on public transportation, and yes, somebody even asked if the police officers were enforcing this, and the impression we got was no, they're really not. They will say mask up, or you can get a mask at the booth, but they will not do anything more than that at this point. And you are so right. Whereas about 2 or 3 months ago, we had 98% mask compliance. Everybody agrees it has shrunken now to around 90, if not in the high 80s.
And the policemen
people-
aren't wearing the masks either.
That issue came up too, Sharon. I have seen both with and without. But yeah, why would a police officer not be wearing one? It's a terrible message to send, obviously.
That is something I've seen as well.
Hello, can I just get a word in edgewise, please? Whoever is training the bus drivers, actually, I have 2 bus drivers who I specifically want to compliment. I keep on sending it in. Lisa, I'll call their names in either later today or tomorrow. But almost every bus driver, these 2 are exceptionally nice. They just remind anybody getting onto the bus in a very polite way that you know, would you mind putting on a mask? It'll be a lot better. There is no reason why, well, I don't know what we call them these days, token booth clerks, the
Booth agents.
booth agents, whatever they are, cannot be given that as one of their functions because, or maybe be trained by whoever has been training the bus drivers, because my experience with every bus driver, and you know I have a lot of bus complaints, but not as far as the mask. And,
Booth agents are too busy reading their books.
well, maybe somebody can do something then about the booth agents, because the bus drivers, I have had the most wonderful experiences with bus drivers, very politely, even politely asking me when I had my mask down on my chin, and just in the nicest way. So maybe the booth agents can be trained, or they can be assigned, or this can be given as a task to them.
Yeah, the booth agent functions are being looked at very closely, whether they should come out, assist people with machines, with directions, be eyes and ears on the platform. So there's a lot of discussion about the function of booth agents.
Maybe you can add this to their functions, which is having, you know, distributing masks, but also just reminding people on the platform, if they're going to be on the platform, to please put on their mask.
Yeah,
There are a lot of announcements that are happening everywhere. So, I mean, there's a lot of reminders. I think people
No, I'm talking about one-on-one. Some booth agents see somebody without a mask and very nicely.
Agent doesn't leave the booth.
I think that they're afraid of being assaulted, honestly.
think so.
No, but Andrew, aren't they going to be doing something where they will be leaving the booths, or there will be new tasks for them?
There is
That's
talk
what
of that, yes.
Yeah. So that's
We
the
have
function.
3 hands raised
We
as well.
do. Andy, I think you were the first hand.
Yes, so I know I discussed this on voicemail with Lisa yesterday, so pretty much I just want to mention regarding the mask compliance this week that I don't know what it is with the A line in particular, but I noticed I've been on the A line twice this week. Everybody had their mask on. Then I will mention on the platform at West 4th Street, Washington Square Park, that I actually saw a lady with a couple of her kids not wearing a mask on the platform. Then I also saw a lady not wearing her platform. But Andrew, this is what's really going to take the cake here. So right before I get off the Q31, there's a guy who comes in on the bus without a mask. And then on the R train this past week, I saw a lady doing her makeup when she got on at Rector Street. Yeah.
I guess she wasn't wearing one.
She wasn't wearing a mask. Well, she had her mask down, but I clearly
Hard to
saw
do
her
that
doing
with a
makeup.
mask on, right?
Depends
Exactly.
what kind of makeup it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I
just
don't
wanted
know.
to tell you
I
my
don't think
experience
I don't
these
think it
past weeks.
differs by train, Andy, what mask compliance, because people transfer between lines and everything. So it's just people are feeling a little more comfortable now with more and more people vaccinated. You know, if you're at an
And I'll
outdoor
make one
station
more
or at an
point.
outdoor bus stop, you don't have to wear one. So
I was on the QM5 and everybody was complying with the mask when I took it for Midtown on Monday.
great. Great.
Christopher
let's
has his
take-
hand up as well.
Christopher has his hand up,
That's
and then Jason.
Yeah, just to add one thing to answer a lot of you guys your question, because when I did mass was this past Tuesday, we had trains at 34 catching people on the train itself not wearing the mask, and they see me giving out masks like the washables. Everyone was switching, but we have caught a lot of the people saying, I don't have to wear it. I already been vaccinated. That's the main issue what we're hearing. But Transit 34, and I have to remind you, the conductors have made announcements on the Q, F, N, D, and the B trains. I mean, before even the train entered, they said, I remind you, please wear your mask. There are mask force
Right, and that's
people.
playing in every station as well.
Let me also add one thing with the conductor saying. Mask force is in the area. Please also be advised, if you need a mask, please see the booth agents. Some conductors, I do see them, they've been carrying masks and they've been giving them out as well. And I have to say, it's nice to see them putting it on. The only problem I'm seeing is the children's size masks, they ran out very quickly. So that's like, now we're in the summer range. That's a lot of issues going on. But I think we also need to focus also is the beach areas, because Coney Island was, forget it. We were packed. We ran out everything by the last tour, as well as the Rockaways. They need to do something because that's a beach area. As well as if people are going to Orchard Beach, they need something on the 6th line. The main focus is, you know, we still have summertime between July and August. They should still do a mask force, but focus more on the beach ends.
And you can have beach weather right through September as well, so.
Yeah, but I'm just saying now. I didn't say when
no,
it
you gotta
ends.
have enough masks at the booths for the additional population, obviously.
Andy,
Yes.
I'd just like to add that, I don't believe I said Andrew. I'd just like to add that the Health and Hospital Corporation and people from the Department of Health are also supplementing handing out masks at the terminal.
That's good.
At the terminal at Stillwell. They have a table on Surf Avenue outside the terminal. How frequently it's there, I can't tell you, but I've seen it on weekends. I don't know about weekdays. But just to follow up on one final point on this with what Lisa was saying. So even though there are a lot of announcements, the message, in my opinion, is not getting through. I think that we need to go back to our partners at the MTA, and the messaging needs to be related to the health consequences of not wearing masks. You know, the cutesy images that are in all the trains and are nice, but I don't think the message about how it impacts our health and the variants are real and there could be another wave. And as the efficacy of the vaccinations that we've already had wear off, we're not sure what's going to happen. And I think we need to have messaging that's targeted, related to the health consequences. And I think as a group, we should be sending some type of letter or message. That's all.
Yeah, we can do that. When I was at the board meeting or the committee meeting, I actually inquired if the MTA has in writing a financial penalty if you're caught not wearing a mask, like the PATH system has. You know, you might be liable to a $50 fine if you're caught without a mask.
I was on PATH this weekend. Everyone was wearing a mask.
Yeah.
You could eat off the floor of the train. There were officers on the stations, at the trade center, and along the line where I was going. It was a very different experience.
With all due respect, as long as the mayor keeps on saying, which he did again at his press conference this morning, that if you get vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask, or a message to that effect, then you're getting double messaging no matter what we say. So maybe if somebody who has influence with the mayor can tell him that he ought to say at least to wear masks on mass transit, because that's the only way that the message will get out. Otherwise, people say, well, the mayor says I don't have to wear a mask.
Well, President Biden says on public transportation you still do. So I think his word goes over Bill de Blasio's.
Not to Bill de Blasio's people.
That's true. That's true.
Let's not get into that. Let's not get into that. I've said enough.
Let's not. Jason, your hand is up. And has been up.
Yes. Actually, guys, I was the one that sounded the whistle back on Monday. Actually, truly, correcting your point, Bill de Blasio mentioned the day before yesterday in his press conference that yes, in public transportation, everyone has to wear their mask.
He
Because
said that on Monday?
yes. No, actually he said it on Tuesday while he was doing the announcement regarding congestion pricing.
I see.
But several things I want to mention. On Monday, right after I left MTA headquarters, I went through several stations. Among them, Canal Street on the 8th Avenue line. I saw a group of 6 police officers. And that station is where Transit District 1 is. All of them not wearing their mask.
Jason, just to not to interrupt you, but Transit District 1 is at Columbus Circle.
On Columbus Circle?
Yes.
Oh, thank you for the correction, Andrew.
No problem.
They were not wearing masks. One of them, I asked them, please put on your mask. It's a federal mandate. And they didn't care. And it's like, to be honest with you guys, since Chief Direttore was transferred to wherever it was,
To labor, yeah.
it's gone downhill. And yesterday, when I was coming home at my home station, the station agent on the 4th Avenue Pacific Street entrance was not wearing her mask. So Sarah Meyer replied, but get this, the tweet got deleted. Her response to me got deleted. So
What did she say?
I can't recall what she said, but she replied to me directly, and then afterwards she deleted the tweet.
She deleted it.
Yes.
Because I've seen station agents with no masks, but they're in their booths. And there's nobody else anywhere near them.
And then she sent someone with initials JLP to reply to me in her behalf.
Okay.
And I addressed to her on Monday and yesterday regarding this, although that I told her that her team is doing the best to raise the numbers again, but we are seeing at the same time other people bringing it down, because the message that we are sending to the writing public is very vague. Let's take 2 agencies, for example, Washington Metro and the T in Boston. In their message, they say that's a federal law or federal mandate in all their posters that they have.
Yeah.
We don't see that here, guys. It is very unfortunate that myself had to contact the Department of Transportation via email and by phone.
We can suggest to the MTA that they change the language to reflect that this is a national mandate.
And even I have the executive order here on my laptop saved for reference, and the mandate is still in effect at least until September 13th.
Yeah.
Because a couple of weeks ago, I wrote New Jersey Transit. Everyone on the train that was in was wearing a mask.
Well, that's the way it is on Long Island Railroad and Metro North too. I've noticed very good mask compliance.
So if New Jersey Transit, Metro North, Long Island Railroad, Amtrak, PATH trains, their mass complaints is high, why in New York City Transit is very low? And then when I wanted to
Enforcement, that's my guess.
and then when I wanted to address Pat Warren privately, why is it so low? On A, push him to a side.
Huh.
But yes, people raise questions.
Absolutely. And we will follow up on this because it is important, obviously.
Thank you, Andrew.
Absolutely. Thanks for your observations, Jason. Any other items of old business? Don't believe our speaker is on with us.
Yep, he is.
He is.
He is.
He is.
He is.
I am.
Oh,
Yeah,
what?
let me-
Andrew, even I can see his name from here.
Oh, gosh. I don't know why I couldn't.
Is that better,
But
Andrew?
anyway,
Better.
there you
Better?
are. That's
Hello.
much better.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Thank you for
Wayne.
coming, Wayne. You know,
Thank you
we
for
always
inviting me.
enjoyed having Al Poutre here, the father of Omni, but we're really thrilled the way you're carrying through and speeding up the real
Well, you know,
ultimate.
it's a tough act to follow, you know.
Well, are you gonna say it?
No,
Don't blame you.
when I say
No.
it, I feel like Captain America selling war bombs in World War II or something, you know. It's Al's trademark. I have to come up with a new one. I'm open to suggestions, so email me with your suggestions for the new Omni motto.
Will do.
Shall I get started?
How about it's about time? Because you can take that two ways.
Yeah, all right. So if you don't mind, I'm going to try to share my screen right now, and then you'll let me know if I did it right. Okay, the host has disabled screen sharing, so you're going to have to enable me.
I will do that.
Thank you, Lisa.
I just have to find my cursor. There you go. Thank you.
They recently installed a second screen on my computer, and now I never used to be technologically challenged, and it doesn't look good on an Omni person, but you know, we do the best we can. Let me see. Okay, here we go.
That's good.
Okay, you got that?
We got
So
it.
good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for inviting me. It's good to be here. Al was with you quite some time back, and I promise I won't wait as long before I come back. I won't retire, and then you won't get somebody new. You'll get me again, okay?
Thank you.
Okay, so we're here today to talk about Omni, and this is really an update because most of you are familiar with the program. This is the agenda for today's meeting, and given that we have a half an hour, I will try to get through everything. I would ask that you hold your questions to the end, or else I know we won't get finished because I've had it happen recently with another group. But we'll go through a quick Omni overview, which includes the project strategy, where we're at now, and then looking ahead for the next few months. I know Lisa had indicated people were curious about the reduced fare program and Accessoride in specific to get some more specific information. So I've added them, and then we'll have the Q&A. And if we need to go over a little and you're okay with your time, I'm good with that as well.
Not a problem.
I'll try not to make it a hit and run job. So what is Omni? Of course, I think all of you know that Omni stands for One Metro New York, and it's the MTA's new fare payment system. It's different for those of you familiar with MetroCard. It's different in that it's account-based, which allows us to offer more options for how and where to pay the fare. And Omni will eventually replace the legacy fare payment systems of 3 agencies. That's New York City Transit, Long Island Railroad, and Metro North. So it's basically replacing MetroCard and eTix and the ticketing systems and the vending machines currently used by all 3 agencies. It's designed to be accessible, and it's designed to be regional, One Metro New York. Specifically at the MTA, and if I'm going too fast, please let me know. On subway
fine.
and bus, we will utilize contactless point of entry readers, and which we have in place now. For Access-a-Ride, there will not be readers on the vehicles, but there will be the addition of an Omni account payment option for people who reserve their rides through Access-a-Ride. For commuter rail, it's basically going to be ticketing with conductor validation. And at all three agencies, there will be Omni vending machines that are, we call them configurable vending machines, but we're actually going to configure them all the same, which will allow us to vend products from all three agencies at any vending machine. Depending on where the vending machine is located, it will prioritize those products. So for example, in a New York City Transit station, it will offer you first New York City Transit fare options, but you will also have an option to get to a Long Island Railroad or a Metro North screen. So we're really excited about that. In terms of the project, it's a structured design build project. For those of you who are not aware or familiar with the term design build, instead of having somebody come out and try to design something for us and then bidding it out again to somebody else to build it for us, it's all consolidated into a general concept of what the MTA was looking for, and you give the bidders the option to fill in the details as to how it's technologically going to be achieved. And so we did go through a competitive bidding process. All of you are aware, I believe, that Cubic won the bidding process, and that Cubic was the original vendor for MetroCard as well. So from the New York City Transit perspective, there was a comfort level that they knew the system. This, beyond Omni time, it's Omni time. This would be my motto, although it's not exciting. But here's how it goes: test, test, and test again. Now that Omni is operational, we have Omni as a project in terms of delivering the new functionalities, but we have Omni as an operating system that is serving over 600,000 New York City Transit customers on an average weekday. So when you have a system that's operating and is touching people's bank accounts and credit cards, it's imperative that we really don't mess up anything that's already working. And that's really a challenge with projects that are technology based, in terms of all of you get updates to your phone, the latest update to Office software. And sometimes when things are updated, it kind of tampers with what's already been tried and true. And because we're dealing with customers' accounts and financial accounts, and also because of privacy issues, we know that customers are concerned about security and privacy of information. It's imperative that we test, and when we're making modifications, that we're sure that what we're putting out there is going to achieve the new functionality that's desired, but not really upset the apple cart in terms of the tried and true stuff that we have out in the field. And so Omni is a phased deployment, which means it was broken up into 5 distinct phases, and some of those phases are broken up further. The experiences that we had with MetroCard and the experiences that we witnessed with other agencies was, if you try to do everything all at once, it's going to blow up. And Omni is just New York City Transit alone is a huge project, and then you add in the 2 railroads. So things were broken up into phases. The good news is you sort of break it down into bite-sized chunks. How do you eat an elephant? 1 bite at a time. But the drawback of the phase deployment is that if you actually start getting everything right, and so far, knock on wood, that we've been successful with Omni so far. Success creates a desire on the part of many segments of our population. So now that one group of customers, one part of our customers have access to Omni, now everybody wants it, and nobody understands why somebody's first and somebody's last. And so all we can say is that it was structured to be a phased deployment, that we are keeping all of the existing legacy fare collection systems running parallel, so that if you can't get it in Omni right now, if Omni is not offered to you right now, or if Omni doesn't offer you what you need right now, that you can still take advantage of those fare programs in the existing fare systems. But that by the time we pull the plug on MetroCard and pull the plug on the vending machines and the ticket office machines at the railroads, everybody will have equal access. It's just that we could not do everything at the same time. It's too risky. In terms of development, we wanted to make sure that we keep customer experience central to the decisions. So in addition, excuse me? Okay. That we try to keep the customer experience central to all of the decisions, and that we meet the MTA. The project's goal is to meet the MTA's fair payment system's economic and non-economic goals. So it's not just about, it is the revenue, it's the front end revenue of the system, but it's also about customer service. It's also about customer convenience. It's creating ease where we can. It's about giving our customers options. So where are we at right now? So I'm sure you're all aware that Omni readers have been installed in all of the subway stations, in 2 of the Staten Island railway stations, and all of the bus system that's run by New York City Transit and by MTA Bus. And that includes the back doors of all the buses as well. We just reached 113 million taps cumulative since the beginning of the program. And as I mentioned earlier, we're averaging over 660,000 taps on an average weekday. And last Friday, we hit a new high with 712,000 taps in a single day. So I'm really looking forward. I believe the next milestone is when we hit the 1 million mark, and that would be a good sign that Omni is well on its way and that ridership has also come back in large part. So I'm hoping that sometime in September, we'll see 1 million taps on a weekday, and that will be good news indeed. Right now, where we're at, we accept payment cards and digital wallets, and we accept them for full fare pay-go transactions. And what I mean by pay-go is you're tapping at the turnstile, you get the go message, and $2.75 gets billed to your bank account or your credit card account. Also available is the Omni Info website, where customers have an option of registering. They don't have to register, but they can register at the Omni Info website, and they can get information about where they've used Omni. So they can actually get history of the stations and when and where they used Omni for payment.
Why does Trudy keep showing up?
I don't know. She's making a sound probably.
It's because, right, Trudy, please mute yourself.
Okay.
Trudy, I'm going to mute you. Thank you. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
Sorry, Wayne.
Thank you. So where are we at now? So the expansion is continuing. I have to start off this slide by saying, even though we finished the subway system on time by the end of 2020, there were COVID impacts that they're far-reaching on industry and people in general. And there was an impact on us. We had a 43-day work stoppage. In terms of the physical installation work, we had to institute all new safety protocols to make sure that we didn't put any of our employees in jeopardy, and to make them as safe and secure as we could. And also in terms of the programming, programming work was suspended for a while too. So in terms of making up the lost time for rolling out the transit system, we did throw all of our resources at that effort, and Al was able to leave by saying we're on time and on budget. What I will tell you now, and it's not a secret because it's been, the MTA board has been briefed publicly about it, but we did have some of our next goals were due in February of 2021. And because we threw all of our resources into completing the system at the end of 2020, we did miss some of our target goals. So now we're trying to work towards that, towards getting those functionalities in place. And the hope is that we can still finish the project, complete phase 5 on time, which is due in July of 2023. As a result of as a result of COVID, there are some new risks, particularly from global chip and plastic shortages. I think most of you might be hearing about the global chip shortage and how there's a shortage of chips to be used in cars, in electronics. Well, those are the chips that are also being used in our fare media. I'm happy to report that we and Cubic have gotten very aggressive about cornering our small part of the market and putting in some orders in advance. And so we think we'll be able to ride out the global chip shortage. But I wanted you to all be aware that it's something we and Cubic are both keeping our eyes on. And it really is a global shortage. It's amazing. Plastics, a lot of the materials that we use, so for example, the housing for the Omni readers is used is made from polycarbonate. And this is another thing where production was stopped during the pandemic in a lot of the places where manufacturing takes place. And so even for making validators right now, there's a shortage of plastic, which actually impact our ability to roll out Omni readers to the auto gates. So that's the little secret. We say that the system is done, that the subway system and the bus system is done. It's a little white lie because the Omni readers were not installed at the auto gates. And we have been installing them now since January. We were supposed to be finished in April, but we actually ran out of materials and could not get validators manufactured. So now we're finishing that up, and they should be finished in the first week of August. And sometime after that, we'll be working with New York City Transit to actually get the gates activated so that you could either use your AFAS, your AutoGate MetroCard, or an Omni card to activate the gate. There is a change order that's coming through for commuter railroads, which will enhance and optimize the Omni experience. When the original specification was put together, the New York City Transit portion was put together over roughly a 3-year period and was originally supposed to be bid as a New York City Transit project. And then there was executive direction that it really needed to include the railroads. I'll just say that the team before me, and not through any, not through mismanagement, but just that the way it came down was not as much time was spent on the railroad specification. And so now that we're getting ready to do the railroads, we've gone into the great details with Cubic, and there was room for improvement. So instead of trying to put in something and then fix it later, we're basically revisiting some of it, and there is a change order that's going to be going through for the railroads to make sure that the experience that we put out there from the beginning is a good one for the customers. And then this last bullet is directly relatable to that and some other change orders that are unknown. I mean, not that they're unknown, the change orders are known, but the impact on the schedule is unknown until we can work through the details with Cubic and with the various client departments. So I tell you all of this up front is because the schedule is a little bit fuzzy right now. I'm just going to be very upfront. And when I accepted the invitation for this meeting, I was tempted to basically say, can we push it off another month or two? Because if I had more time, things become much clearer. But I didn't want to put you guys off. So I'm here today, and I'll tell you about what I think some of the dates are. And what I will say, that goes back to testing. We have draft dates. Some of them have been shared publicly already. I'll share them with you. But everything is a target, because if the software is not working properly, I won't put it out there. I'd rather have the black mark on my record for being late than having the black mark on my record for putting something out there and that it was a failure, or it took money from somebody's account, or made them bounce their mortgage check. So, and what I always say, I've discussed it internally, is that if I'm a few weeks or even a couple of months late, people will be disappointed, but a couple of years from now, nobody will remember it. But if I put something out there that is really not working right, it'll be remembered till the end of time. So I just share that with you, and I know you can understand that. So anything that we discuss in terms of dates are target dates, and I'd be happy to update you as time goes by when those dates become more firm. I also say that because when I talk to reporters on occasion, everything becomes a real date, and they just put it in the article as if that's the real date. So I'm very cautious about dates. This is just a quick slide. I'm not going to go through everything on this slide, but this is what was in the CPOC report when we reported back to the board last month, in terms of these are the things that are coming up in the next 6 months. What's interesting about this phase of the project, I'll just say it this way, is that when we were installing readers on the buses and in the subway stations, I mean, those readers are beautiful. They glow in the dark. Those little LED lights, and you notice it when you come in the morning and your station was just done. You knew that we had been there and that Omni readers were installed. A lot of the things that are happening now are happening behind the scenes, and they're not as visible. So people are saying, well, what have you done for me lately? And they don't know that we're doing a lot of behind the scenes work in terms of planning for additional fare options, in terms of development and design for the railroads, in terms of getting ready for beta testing, and to make sure everything works right before we enhance the functionalities. Omni 2021. So here's what I see happening before the end of this year. So we will have the Omni readers installed at the auto gates in all ADA accessible stations in the next couple of weeks. We will have the big one, launch of the Omni card. That's the closed loop MTA card as opposed to somebody's bank card. Now, you know, we pushed out the bank cards and the cell phones first. That was a deliberate strategy. And for the people who have those things available to them, we wanted them to become acclimated to using their device, their own personal fare media. And that's good for us because it reduces costs. However, I do want to stress that the MTA is keenly aware that we have to serve all customers, and that includes across all socioeconomic conditions, and that we knew that we had to put out a card there, put out a card for people who might only want to pay in cash, or might not have a credit card, or might not have a smartphone. So that's what we're getting ready for. It was supposed to launch in September. I'm keeping my fingers crossed for end of September. If it happens in October, don't hold it against me. But in terms of launching, it's going to be launched at retail networks that will be slowly rolled out across the city. And so that it'll take about a year to roll out all of the retail locations. The difference between OmniCard at a retail location and MetroCard at a retail location, OmniCard will be on a rack like a gift card. If you see a Home Depot gift card or a Dwayne, not a Dwayne Reed, but a Lowe's gift card. So they'll be on those racks, and then you'll be able to go up to the front of the store, and the person at the register will be able to load your Omni account. And when I say load your Omni account, keep in mind the value is not going on the card. The value is going into an account behind the card, sort of like your bank account and a debit card. So MetroCard was actually on the card, and Omni is an account-based system. There will also be a soft launch. Well, let me step back for 1 second. The clear benefit of the retail network for OmniCard as opposed to MetroCard, in the MetroCard world, we only sold pre-valued cards at retailers. So you could buy a wrapped MetroCard that had 7 days on it, or a wrapped MetroCard that had 10 fares on it, whatever the case, and you could not reload the card at the retailers. You're constantly buying new cards. With OmniCard, you'll be able to buy a new card at the retailer, and there will be a fee associated with that. That will be a $5 fee for a card that lasts much longer than a MetroCard. And then you'll be able to reload that card, not just at a station at a vending machine, but also at the retailer. And that includes reloads of past products when we get to that point as well. So there's a tremendous advantage of an Omni card at a retailer as compared to MetroCard. Next, we have soft launch of reduced fare Omni. And what do I mean by this soft launch? So what we're going to be doing, and again, this comes back to testing. In the coming weeks, it's supposed to be July. I think it's going to happen for sure in August, is we have a very small population of reduced fare customers that are representative of the various reduced fare customer groups, and that we're going to be working with them and giving them reduced fare Omni cards and having them test the system for us and getting their reaction. This is to make sure that the system is working. Whoops, let's see, go back. How do I go back? There we go. Sorry about that. That the system is working properly, if there's anything that we can do to enhance it, although that'll take a little time, and to make sure we've gotten it right before we start rolling it out to the larger population. Two things I like about this. One is that the reduced fare population is actually getting the closed loop card before everybody else is getting it. So in many instances, we're always accused of picking one population over another population. This time we're picking reduced fare customers, which includes people with disabilities and includes people who are seniors, and we're going to let them try it out first. So I thought that was the right way to go. And also, we're going to be experimenting with giving reduced fare customers the option, for those customers who want to try it out, the option of putting their reduced fare privileges on a bank card or on their phone. And this is going to be tricky, and it's going to be, it is a trial, but we have things like fare evasion and abuse of the privileges to worry about. But we're working on that, because if we can get it right, it's truly a customer convenience, and it also will reduce the number of cards that we need to pump out into the system. The other thing I just want to comment about soft launch is when we get ready to roll out to the greater population, which would come later this year, keep in mind that we have over 1 million customers in New York City Transit's reduced fare program, and every customer is going to have to get a customized card unless we have the plan that works out with the phone and the bank card. But no matter what, there are going to be hundreds of thousands of cards that have to be produced, and we cannot snap our fingers and just have the cards produced in a short period of time. So there has to be a structured rollout. And again, what I say is some customers will come first. For example, customers whose cards are expiring, or customers who are newly seniors and newly applying for the program. But eventually we will get to everybody, and we are not withdrawing, MetroCard privileges while we're rolling out the Omni program. And we're working closely with New York City Transit's reduced fare office to get this going. The other thing I will also say is not only do we have to produce the cards, but the equipment that's going to be used to produce these cards is new equipment that hasn't even been delivered yet. So our program office is really keen on getting the equipment in and really testing it, and making sure that we can produce a quality card, and to see how fast we can produce them, and to see how many shifts we have to run in terms of actually getting these hundreds of thousands of cards produced. It's a task that they're used to, however. I mean, they have similar challenges with reduced fare MetroCard. Another one that I love is introducing Omni as an option for Access-a-Ride. Access-a-Ride was not part of the original Omni contract I'm not even going to go into the reasons. It absolutely should have been there. The first day when we came to present to the board the contract for Omni, and one of the board members, who shall be nameless, and it's not Andrew Albert, basically said, and you will have no change orders for this contract. And Al Portray stood up and said, I'm telling you right now, we're going to have one, and the first one's going to be that we're adding Access-a-Ride because it was not included. So it was added. It came in late. It's in there, and now we're happy to be bringing it out there. We are not installing readers on all paratransit vehicles because it would be cost prohibitive, but we've come up with a pretty clever system for tying the Access-a-Ride reservation system into the Omni payment system. So the short version of it is, if I'm an Access-a-Ride customer who has linked a credit or debit card, or even an Omni card with funds in the account, to my Access-a-Ride account, when I call for my reservations and they say, I need a ride tomorrow from here to here, and by the way, I want to pay with Omni, when they get on the Access-a-Ride vehicle the next day, they will have a new Omni Access-a-Ride ID, which is a photo ID, and the driver will know that they're paying with Omni. They don't have to tap or anything. The driver just confirms that they took the trip. The reservation system knows that they took the trip and sends in a payment request through the Omni system and bills their Omni account. And the same card that they can use as ID, sorry about that, that they can use as ID for Access-a-Ride, they can actually, if they are able to use buses and subways, they can actually use that card for the buses and subways as well. So it consolidates a number of pieces of ID and fare cards into one Omni card for the Access-a-Ride population. I mentioned the launch of the retail network, which is where the closed loop cards will go on sale. And then right now, omni.info exists. We'll be making enhancements to the website in terms of registering cards, monitoring balances, setting alert messages, and that type. As we introduce new functionalities, you can be sure that we will always be enhancing the Omni website to correspond to those enhancements, and also to provide FAQs and information about the changes that we're making to the system. Going forward, there'll be new mobile ticketing, and this is going forward into 2022. New mobile ticketing for the railroads, new onboard sales and validation device for the conductors on the railroads in order for them to sell tickets on the trains. There'll be a new Omni ticket, so when you go into a vending machine for New York City Transit, you can purchase an Omni card. If you're going onto the railroads from the same vending machine and you're just buying a one-way ticket from Port Jefferson and to Penn Station, you'll be issued an Omni ticket, which is a limited use smart card as opposed to a hard plastic extended use smart card. There will be new ticket office machines at all of the railroad stations. We will be conducting in early next year vending machine field tests at Grand Central Station, Penn Station, and Woodside. And you'll notice that these are all locations where services overlap. So Grand Central, Metro North, and New York City Transit, and Penn Station and Woodside is with Long Island Railroad and New York City Transit. This is also to test out the sort of the cross functionality of these machines. And then going forward, once we get through that initial field test, vending machines will be installed at New York City Transit, Long Island Railroad, Metro North, and that's ongoing from 2022 through the first half of 23. I'd just like to mention also beyond the cross functionality of the vending machines, I want to mention that in terms of the user interface and the user experience, and this goes back to what I was saying earlier about the customer experience, the design of the Omni website, the design of the Omni app and mobile ticketing, and the design of the Omni vending machines are going to all have a similar look and feel, so that if you've used one and then you're trying to use a different one, it's not going to seem foreign to you. It's going to, you're going to be like, oh, this is sort of similar to the Omni vending machine that I used in the station, but now you're sitting in your pajamas in the middle of the night on the Omni website buying your fare. So I think that's also a great aspect of sort of like you're marrying the various sales channels so that everything sort of has a similar look and feel, so that the customer feels comfortable with the new technology. Getting back to reduced fare and giving you more specifics about the soft launch, we're going to test the end-to-end user experience, again, prior to launching it to the full program. We're going to have a small, focused, engaged group of customers that we already know use the system on a regular basis and that we've been in contact with, and that we will be they will have representation from the various customer groups, including the various disability types. We are closely coordinating with the Reduced Fare Program Office, the Paratransit Office, and the System-Wide Accessibility Office under Q Arroyo. We'll be seeking qualitative feedback during the soft launch, which will, some of it might be immediately introduced in terms of the full rollout. Some of it might take a software change or two, but we'll be looking to build that into the feedback loop. And then again, I'm very happy that the Omni card, the physical card, will be offered to reduced fare customers first before the general population has an opportunity to see it. And in terms of the full launch, as I mentioned, new customers in the program that don't have a reduced fare Metro card will be onboarded in Omni. Existing program enrollees will be transitioned from Metro card to Omni over time. Customer support at 3 Stone Street will begin with the full launch when they'll have to get specialized equipment, Omni equipment down there. And then additional reload channels will be available to customers beginning later in the year, including the mobile app, the retail network. And although it's not included here, I'll let you know that in terms of the MetroCard vans that go around the city, they will also have the equipment as well. Accessoride customers will continue to make their reservations through existing channels, which includes the phone and the app, the My Accessoride app. They will have an additional Omni account payment option at the when they're making the reservation, and that way the payment methods will be they will determine which payment methods they want stored to their Omni account and to fund their Omni account. And when they make their reservation, they just indicate I'm paying with Omni. An Omni ID card will be issued to all paratransit customers. It replaces the Flash Pass that they currently have, and it can also be used for trips on the subway and the bus if they're able to use the subway and the bus. And as always, and this is something I should have mentioned earlier, so the option to pay in cash always remains. If they want to pay in cash on the vehicle, they can. If customers don't want to use a cell phone or a smartphone in the subways, they can buy an Omni card and they can use cash at the retail outlets, or they can use cash later in the year when we introduce vending machines. So at this point, I know I haven't covered everything, but it's a limited. I know I've already gone over, and I'd be happy to take some of your questions.
There's tons of questions, Wayne. Okay, so Chris, go ahead.
Hi, Wayne. Good to see you again.
Hi, Chris. Good to see you again.
Down, Wayne.
I'm sorry, Lisa.
So, I'm sorry, Wayne, I'm gonna take your presentation down so everyone can go back and.
Oh, okay, okay, great.
Okay.
Again, hi, Wayne.
Hi, Chris.
Hi, good to see you again. And I will say this, it is going to be a great one because I am one of the testers on that as the and on the actor committee.
Great.
Yeah, because it is, they say they need to try it out with all disabilities. And this is something I'm going to say I'm going to enjoy helping out and supporting this because we do need to move on to the future on this. And I'm glad you mentioned about cash and stuff because that's when a lot of confusion comes out. And I was glad you brought that up in the end part of the presentation because a lot of people thinking the cash is going to disappear. And I'm like, he did not say that. So there is one thing that needs to be, I'm glad you made that very clear. The only concern that I think that's going to be a little confusion to some people, and I know Andrew agreed with me on this because him and I are thinking about it right now. Can people have two Omni cards or it's going to be into one card one? If someone has Accessorize and the reduced fare card, are they going to be combined or going to be two cards again like we're doing today?
So we're working with the Reduced Fare Program Office. We're working with Paratransit, and we are working with system-wide accessibility to the extent where it makes sense. I mean, ideally, if it's just a card that you're using for you, isn't it better if it's all on one card and you don't have to decide whether you've left one card at home or the other? So to the extent possible, we're trying to consolidate everything. I think that's what we're doing. I thought you were going in a different direction with the question, though, in terms of like you're a parent and you have you buy a card for you and you buy a card for your child, and then yes, you can have two cards linked to an account to a funding source and manage both of them as well. But yes, in terms of the reduced fare population, we are looking. To me, it always. I understand how it happened, and these programs all kind of grew up separately, and each one is his own little, let's say, fiefdom. But we're trying to consolidate so that, for example, if you have the Omni. The Accessorize Omni card, that you would not need a separate, trip 4-trip Metro card for the subway, or let's get it all consolidated into one.
I agree with that. And actually, I was saving that question for someone else. I was just going to talk about reduced fare because that was always the number one confusion on how people got to realize you're going to have one card. It will be the ultimate card. Last time you said that was like years ago, like 2 years ago.
So you just mentioned something else, and I think it's the one thing that it was an obvious miss in terms of I'm presenting to this particular group, and I didn't stress that we understand that there's a tremendous need for customer messaging and communication, which is one of the reasons why I do things like this with you folks, because I can't get the message out all on my own. I need to have you all as my ambassadors out there, and so the more information I can get you, the more information that you can convey. And that's why you've seen me at the ACTA meeting, Chris, and at the PAC meeting. And I try to do as much as possible, but I'm only human. And we know that different people also learn differently. Some people learn by doing, some people learn by reading, some people learn by watching. So we are working closely with Sarah Myers folks in terms of, customer messaging. Sometimes it's a matter of, so for example, when we're doing all this testing, and I'm unsure if something's coming, I don't want to get a message out there too soon because then people forget by the time, we're doing it. But I just just realized that I didn't say anything about customer communications in the presentation. So mea culpa.
It's okay, Wayne. It's like right now you got to wear Al's shoes, and sometimes those shoes get a little bumpy. So as I say,
we've got quite a few questions waiting.
Yeah.
Okay, continue. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Lisa.
Thanks. Thank you, Wayne. That was really terrific. Early on in your presentation, you mentioned different kinds of ticket types and putting, making sure that they're available on Omni. So, we're big proponents of Atlantic Ticket and Freedom Ticket. And right now we're also advocating for 20-trip tickets on commuter rail. But is it as new ticket types come up and they're working on this in Accessorize and reduced fare, is it going to be challenging to incorporate different ticket types into to program them into this, or is that something that's going to be easily done?
So,
So
Lisa,
I
can I real quick, can I just piggyback off of that? Because I have a series of questions and I just want to be more efficient. Adding on to what Lisa is asking, is there any policies on including pilot programs in Omni and how to navigate that? Thank you.
Good piggyback.
Great. First of all, I'll let you know that I watch all the board meetings. I have been watching them for 10 years because I think they're fascinating and they clue you into the big picture. And I saw your New York Times article, Lisa, or your quote in the New York Times. Great. Cubic, the railroads, and even New York City Transit, we're aware of all the discussions that are going on regarding fare policy. And we recognize that we are the technology. We don't set the policy, but we have to offer the technology that gives the board the options to set the policies that they want to set. So we're keenly aware of the 20-trip ticket. Something like that, where you have a 10-trip ticket, which Cubic is working closely with the railroads in terms of the railroads have a much more complex tariff structure than New York City Transit. And that includes, the zone-based ticketing and all of the different, and Atlantic Pilot. Cubic is working closely with them because Cubic doesn't have long-term experience with the railroads the way they do with New York City Transit. So we've been working closely for a long time with something that's similar to something that's already out there. So you're offering a 20-trip ticket and you already have a 10-trip ticket. I think those are fairly configurable, easy to do. If somebody comes up with something that's sort of really out of the box and it is not something that's really being done anywhere else in the world, that might require a little extra work or require more time or may require some programming. But for example, in programs that are done in other places, so for example, and I'm going to say it and then I'll be blasted for mentioning it, but fare capping is something that's in the system. Again, so it's in the system. We offer the technology. We just don't set the policy. We're here to serve the board's needs.
Lisa,
Thank you.
does that
So
answer
it's
your-
doable. It's just.
And yes, and so I mean, to the extent that I want to, was it Jason? Who was it? No, it was. I'm sorry.
Bradley.
I can't remember the other gentleman's name. That just I've asked about the pilots.
Bradley.
Yeah, Bradley. In terms of the pilots, if it's something, even though we're calling it a pilot, if it's something that mimics or is similar to something that's already out there, it should be fairly easy to achieve. If it's something that's extremely creative and it's not something that really anybody's considered before, it might be a little more challenging.
Yeah, if it's in line like with the Atlantic ticket program, they have a weekly fare that provides transfers to New York City Transit, subways, and buses. Would something like that be achievable with Omni right now, especially considering the rollout on the commuter railroads? Is that something that would be possible to achieve currently?
So Cubic is obligated to achieve the railroad's tariffs, and since Atlantic Ticket exists out there right now, that they're programming for that right now. And again, if something similar comes along, so they open up stations in the Bronx along Metro North and things like that, it should be achievable. A lot depends on the policy that's being implemented.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Bradley, do you have any others? Or can I move on to the other people?
Just really quick, one's more of a comment, the other one is a question. The commuter rail rollout, you said that there has been some change orders that have possibly impacted the scheduled rollout on the commuter railroads.
Right.
And correct me if I'm wrong, is the commuter rail rollout supposed to be completed by the end of 2022?
According to the project schedule, just about everything is supposed to be completed by the end of 2022, and the beginning of 2023 is pretty much when you're sort of removing the legacy equipment and decommissioning the other stuff. So yes, that's when it was supposed to be. But right now, again, because we're in July and the change orders are just going through right now, I'm not keenly. I can't be firm on what the schedule is really going to look like until we get some feedback from Cubic and until we go through the change order process.
Okay. And just two other quick questions that I have, and one is, it's it's kind of a late question, that it's difficult with MetroCard to understand origin and destination information of where riders are traveling. And I know that other systems, like in Washington, where you have to tap out of the system, have there been any discussions about tapping out of the system to better understand where people are traveling to and from, and how will Omni
So the
help
quick
with
answer
that?
is no.
Right.
The system was specified this way. The only person who's brought it up in the last 5 years is Andy Byford, and that's because they have tap out in London. But New York City Transit's not a zone-based system, and it was not part of the requirements. So you won't see it anytime soon.
Right. But with that not existing, is there any way with it on the back end of Omni to be able to help tell better where people are traveling to and from, without tapping out? Or is it the same thing that they do with MetroCard, where they
It's going to
look
be
at
operations planning has gotten really clever at linking trips in terms of the morning trip and the evening trip. For people who make multi-linked trips, it's not as easy, but it's going to be similar to what operations planning at New York City Transit does for MetroCard. There is no plan to do tap outs.
Okay. And one more thing, and then I promise I am done, is just more of a comment. We get a lot of complaints about when people lose their Metro cards, or they have to come all the way down to Stone Street to rectify whatever issue they're having. Has there been any conversations to have either satellite locations in the system for customer support, possibly in the stations, when the full rollout does happen?
I'm sorry, I was focusing on the first part of the question.
Sorry.
So
So basically, we get a lot of people that call into the office, whether they've lost their Metro card or it's been damaged, and they have to physically come to 3 Stone Street to rectify whatever issue they're having. Has there been any discussions, especially with Omni being rolled out, to have satellite locations possibly within the system itself, so that people can be able to rectify their problems there without coming all the way down to 3 Stone Street?
You're talking about MetroCard?
Omni, when it's rolled out, because you said that customer support would be at 3 Stone Street.
That's for the reduced fare population signing up if they want to come in.
I
But a lot of Omni customer support will be self-service. There's an Omni call center. Again, because this is account-based, not card-based, you can call the Omni call center and they can do things on the back end. So for example, you've lost your card, you have a replacement card, you can call them up. They can deactivate the first card if you know the serial number, or if you registered the account. Like, remember I talked earlier about registering your card on the website. If you register your card and then you lose your card, you can call the call center, say, this is the card, I'm Bradley, this is the card I registered, I lost it, and they can freeze the funds. And then when you get another card, you buy another card at the retailer, they can transfer the funds onto the new card. So a lot of the things that you can't do with MetroCard, because it's all card based, it's a lot easier to do with and you'll have self-service on the web, self-service at the call center. I don't think you're going to need a lot of in place physical locations.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Jason.
Yes. Hi, Wayne.
Hi, Jason.
Couple of questions. One, will we see the physical card on Apple Pay, just like Clipper has on the Bay Area, Washington Metro, and the tap card in LA? That's one. Two, regarding regional rail, SEPTA has their famous SEPTA key, and for their regional rail and Sunrail in Orlando, they got a tap on, tap off base thing. Let's say if I take the Long Island Railroad, let's say from Penn Station to Mineola, I board on Penn. I tap my Omni card at Penn.
Go ahead, I'm listening.
And then the conductor on the train goes as usual, doing the validation process, validates the card, and then when I get to my destination, I tap off. Would I want to do the same thing with Omni when it's implemented?
No, that's not how our system's being designed. And I'll just say, SEPTA key card is not a system that I would emulate. They're way over budget and way over time, despite their efforts. No, we've had extended discussions with the railroads as to whether they want tap off, tap off, tap on, tap off, whether they wanted to have validator stanchions, for example, a pole at the station. They're not doing any of that. A lot of it is going to be mobile, like what you have on ETICS right now, and then it's just going to be the rest will be on a ticket that can be validated by the conductor, or a ticket that can be sold by the conductor. But it will be like a paper smart card, not a hard Omni card.
Okay, and what about on PATH? Because I don't know if you know this. I got information that PATH is going to be part of Omni on 2023.
Okay, so that's a great question, because I haven't mentioned any of the MetroCard affiliates, and so
I got information directly from the Port Authority that they planning to discontinue the.
How about I give you information directly from me?
I got information from them.
Yeah, but they're using my system, so what does it matter what they say?
Yeah.
Let Wayne answer.
Jason, let's let Wayne tell us. 'cause
Jason,
he's gotta go.
you make me laugh, Jason. That's not the source, Jason. The source is right here.
All right, let's go right to the source. Let's go, Wayne. Thank you.
The point is that we're currently in discussion with all of the agencies that currently accept MetroCard. And the only thing is that what we've told them is that we have to truly finish New York City Transit before we're going to be ready to onboard you. We've had extensive discussions with PATH. We've had extensive discussions with, for example, JFK AirTrain, as well as Westchester B-Line Bus, Nice Bus, and Roosevelt Island Tram. Our chairman made a commitment that PATH would be first. I don't necessarily agree with that, but then again, I'm not the chairman. And he made a deal with the chairman of the Port Authority. So PATH will be first, and it should be in 2023. Yes, but it should be. We're going to try for. It should. I'm sorry. It should have been in 2022, but right now, again, with the schedule being in flux, and there are things that each of those agencies have to do to make sure that they are Omni ready. And what I mean by Omni ready, that they have to provide certain communication networks and power at their turnstiles and things like that. I think the buses will be a little bit easier because we can just stick the same validator we have on our buses on their buses, and it's not a lot of heavy lifting or engineering work. I think the PATH system is particularly challenging because their turnstiles look nothing like our turnstiles, and they're going to need a little bit of engineering work.
But they're still cubic. They're both cubic.
Let me tell you, Wayne, if you go to Puerto Rico,
take Fran Urbano, and their vending machines look just like ours.
Yeah, but in terms of the turnstile design, is the same design basically.
Jason, we gotta move on.
One last point, Wayne. I've been seeing tourists that come from out of town, specifically in Times Square. How could we incentivize tourists that want to navigate our system to use Omni instead of MetroCard?
Okay, so this is going to be your last one. I'm going to answer, and then we're going to move on to somebody else. But what I'm going to tell you is I don't think there's much we have to do to incentivize tourists from foreign countries, because these tap systems are used all throughout Asia and in Europe. And what I can tell you is, based on the data that I've seen, we've seen usage of credit cards and debit cards from 153 countries, which is quite a lot of countries. I don't know how many there are in the world, but I don't think there are 200. And we've seen credit card and debit card usage from tourists from 153 different countries. So they see the validator, they see the contactless symbol, and they know what it means because it's a universal symbol.
Okay, we're going to move on to other questions. Jasmine.
Thank you, Wayne.
Hi. Yeah, I represent Good Neighbors of Park Slope. It's an aging in place community. So I just have a question. As a long time holder of the senior reduced fare Metro card, can you just clarify, for all intents and purposes, won't the Omni reduced card act the same way? I'm someone who does not want to take out my iPhone on the bus or on a subway platform. So when you talk about the Omni card being account-based, isn't the current Metro card I have account-based? So won't I just be switching over to something that's almost the same?
So Jasmine, greetings from your neighbor in Sunset Park.
Hi.
Great question. So let me just clarify. So you use reduced fare MetroCard Easy Pay,
Yes,
and you have it hooked up to a credit card or a bank account?
bank account. Or
Right,
one,
so-
one or the other.
One or the other, right. So let me congratulate you on being the prototype for Omni. Yeah, essentially, nothing's going to change for you except you're going to have a different card. And the card will be more durable and will last longer, so that instead of every, whatever, I think they have you on a 2-year cycle or 2.5-year cycle, this card will last at least 5 years. But you're right, for the people who use Easy Pay MetroCard, it's an account-based system, so it's not all that different. And in fact, a lot of the things we were doing early on were modeled on what our knowledge of what was going on with Easy Pay MetroCard. Great question.
Great, thank you. Hi.
Thank you. Andy.
Yeah, so
Hi.
I'm gonna be brief. Hi, Wayne.
Hi, Andy.
Dad.
Finally, pleasure to meet you. I
Have-
know
have
I've
you
had
heard me?
previous-
This is Trudy. Can I get in here, please? Before I
Well,
leave?
We'll put you on the list, Trudy.
Yes, I'm just gonna be
Yeah,
brief.
I think I have been buzzing since before
we
he
haven't
finished,
seen it
and
or
I have
anything.
to leave. May I ask a quick question?
Let's just get this question and then you'll be next.
Okay, so Wayne, pretty
Thank you
much,
so much,
I've
Andrew.
had previous discussions with Al about the senior disabled Metro cards, which I have mine right here, of course. So my question, I'm going to be brief. Will the Omni disabled senior cards be ready by November 30th of this year?
Will it be ready?
Yes.
Yes, it will be ready. Does that mean you will have one? Not necessarily. There's a rollout, and I don't know. I know that the accessibility community is going to be prioritized in terms of replacement of the cards, but there is a rollout process. So where a particular individual falls, I can't guarantee a date on that.
All right. So best case scenario by 2023 would be the best outlook then.
Oh, before, yeah, I think before then, but yeah, that's safe for me to say. I know you want a better answer than that, but
Right.
as I said, we're trying to roll out. Are you specific? Is it an AFAS card? I mean, for the AutoGate?
No, it's just the disabled Metro card.
Okay, yeah, so it's going to take place. I'm going to say, to be fair to my colleagues in the Reduced Fare Program Office, I think it's going to take them a full year to get out because they have more than 1 million cards to produce.
Correct. They'll probably need another year or two before they
Not two.
at least a year. At least
Not
a
two.
year.
At least a year.
Okay,
Okay,
that's
let's
next.
go back to
Thank
Trudy.
you.
go
Thank you,
back to
Wayne.
Trudy.
You there,
Am
Trudy?
I on?
You're on.
Okay, I want to go back into, they call me the living history, so I'm going to, hello?
Hi, Trudy. I'm here. I hear you.
We hear you.
Okay. And I recall, even before Omni had its name or anything else, when it was first talked about, the whole idea was not to replace one card with another card or anything like that, but have this work just like your charge account, so that if you go into a restaurant, you don't need one card for one restaurant and one card for Danny Myers and one card, etc. And could you just explain when that changed? Because I'm learning today, but it was my understanding that there did not have to be, or that there would not be, a Omni card per se.
Great question, Trudy. So let me answer it this way. To the extent possible, we love our customers who use their phone or their credit or debit cards as their fare media. And that's what you're talking about. You're talking about using the same card that
That's all there was supposed to be. There was
No,
not supposed to be
No,
another meeting.
Trudy, I have to disagree with you because we recognized a long time ago, before we even really rolled out the program, that from 8 to 14% of New Yorkers are unbanked or underbanked. And so that population either does not have a bank card, a credit card, a debit card, or a smartphone. So New York City Transit has to serve the entire New York City population. And we always knew that there would have to be an Omni card. However, there are costs associated with having an Omni card, and that's why we rolled out the open payment system first, what you're talking about, using a credit card or a debit card, and which is preferred and which greatly reduces the costs of the organization. And we rolled it out first so that people would get used to using it, and that when we rolled out the Omni physical card, that they would say, I don't need that. I have my smartphone. I could do it. But we never envisioned rolling out the entire system without rolling out something that somebody who does not have a bank account could use. That was never, maybe it was not highlighted in the discussions that you were involved in, but it was never envisioned that there would not be some device that somebody who only has cash could use.
Yeah, I understand, but the way you're presenting it right now, it sounds like you're pushing, or you're going to be marketing everybody to get an Omni card rather than continue using their charge card.
So it's a fine line that I have to walk, Trudy. So the big exciting stuff that has already happened, which is you could use your bank card or your credit card, that's the old news. And the next thing that's coming out is the thing that everybody else is asking about. So the people who wanted to use a bank card or a credit card, and my niece who's a millennial, and they're happy, they're so happy, they just walk, they don't even think about it, they just walk up to the turnstile. They don't even care what, they just walk up to the turnstile. So they're not asking questions anymore. The people who are asking me questions are, what about the card for the rest of us? What about, so I've highlighted it in this presentation because the bank cards are essentially old news. And it's not that I prefer people use Omni card. I prefer that they use a bank account or a credit card or their smartphone. But right now, this is what's considered newsworthy, but I'm not pushing it. I'm just making people aware of it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Stuart.
Thanks, Andrew.
Sure.
Wayne, we discussed something like this in our last meeting. When the legacy systems wind down, will there be an opportunity to transfer funds that people have on their Metro cards? Or if entities have bulk purchases of Metro cards, will they be able to convert that revenue to Omni cards?
So, great question. Knew it was coming. I've been asked this question before.
Okay, great.
Right now, the system is not being, the two systems don't talk to each other. It's not being designed to talk to each other. And what I say to people is, I'm giving you 2 years notice to use up your Metro card. Do I believe that at some point after MetroCard is retired, and there were some people that just didn't get the message and didn't understand that MetroCard was really, really, really going away, and they found the MetroCard in their sock drawer? Well, might there be some redemption methodology or something? I'm sure that's a discussion that New York City Transit will be taking up. It's just not going to be a direct. You're not going to call a number and transfer $5 from a MetroCard into your Omni account.
My question was broader because they're government entities and not-for-profits that buy MetroCards in bulk from MetroCard sales. So
that's a different story.
Well, I asked the question broadly. I said individuals and organizations. So
you tricked me.
There has not intentionally, but there has to be, in my opinion, some mechanism where those entities or even individuals would get some type of credit.
What happens when those entities have MetroCards that expire?
Well,
now.
That's the point.
Right.
Well, when they expire, you have up to 2 years to exchange them and get credit in your account to get
as an entity. So
as an entity, right? That is correct.
That's right.
Right. So would they be offering that for entities who want to then participate in?
So I can't say that definitively because that's not my program, and I'm not sure how it's being migrated, but I would assume that if there is a similar program, I know we sell MetroCards, for example, to the hospitals and other groups. I'm assuming that, first of all, those groups will all be well aware that MetroCard is being phased out. I know that a letter has already actually gone out to the retailers that sell MetroCard, but that they will be aware, and that at certain points that as future orders are placed, the different organizations based on the size of the order, I'm sure will be contacted saying, do you really want to keep ordering the same amount because MetroCard is going away? So I think there's going to be a managed process so that organizations don't wind up with this overload of expiring MetroCards that can't be used anymore.
And will you be, last question, will you be absorbing that staff, the MetroCard sales staff?
Yeah, there's a lot of questions going on in terms of how Omni becomes, how should I call it? Operationalized as opposed to going from a project to going to standard operations. I can't answer that question at this time.
Okay, but thank you for providing what you have so far. And if you can keep us posted of any developments with these issues, that would be great.
Thank you.
Hi, Wayne, can you, there's just one other, but Marisol just put a question in the chat. Will Omni be available on express buses?
Yeah, so you can use it on express buses right now. It's all over the city.
All over the city. Okay, great. Chris?
Yeah, Wayne, there's one thing that I was glad someone else brought up, but there's one concern that is a concern for reduced fare. If we're going to be using the Omni card on PATH trains or Jersey Transit buses, you remember I mentioned this to you many years ago, they are not accepting them.
Okay, let me interrupt you because I know what the question is already, and I'm trying to save time here. First of all, I haven't had any discussions with New Jersey Transit. New Jersey Transit installed their own brand new fare system, and it'll be a while before our system can talk to their system if they're even interested. In terms of the agencies that are interested, that we've had discussions, we're working on it. And a point that I just want to raise is that we're focusing on the agencies that currently accept MetroCard right now, but we are also will be entertaining requests from other agencies, for example, East River Ferry and things like that. So we are having preliminary discussions with other agencies, but the priority is for the agencies that accept MetroCard. Now, coming back to your PATH question, I'm about as frustrated as you are that for many, many, many years, in my various roles with MetroCard, that we never got the PATH system to accept our reduced fare MetroCards, even accept them at full fare. I mean, give the person the option of using the same card at full fare in the PATH system if that's what they wanted to do. We never really got cooperation from the Port Authority on that. It was very frustrating for me personally over a multi-year period, and then I just stopped trying. What I have to say is, having written some of the memorandum of agreements between the agencies, MTA has always been respectful that each agency's fare policy is their fare policy. They each have their boards that they report to, and in this particular case, the Port Authority's board never accepted the idea of accepting our reduced fare MetroCards. For a long time, they didn't even accept our Easy Pay MetroCard. So I can't guarantee that they're gonna, and they don't accept our time-based card. So they don't accept a 7-day and a 30-day. I can't guarantee you what each agency is going to do. What we have always encouraged, and for example, with Nice Bus and Westchester Bus, we basically all agreed that the more we're in sync, the less confusing it is to the customer, the easier it is to explain. And with new technology, you want to make it easy. So, but I can't tell you what PATH's fare policy is going to be.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Wayne. This has been really an eye-opener, very interesting. I think we're all looking forward to it for various reasons. Somebody speaking, is that you, Lisa?
Hi. No, that's me,
Marisol.
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 Had a question, it's over.
I just have one more question, and if you answer it, I apologize. Is there a plan to connect Omni to the Easy Pass system?
Right now, there are no plans to connect Omni to Easy Pass.
Okay. I just think that's a missed opportunity, but it's okay.
I won't say that we haven't spoken with them and they haven't spoken with us. It's already been challenging, quite challenging to get the two railroads and New York City Transit on board. What I envision, Marisol, and maybe not maybe I'll be the owl retiring when it's happening, is that at some point you'll be able to log in to the MTA website and you'll be able to, if you own a car and you have a and you also use the subway system, maybe you'll be able to see everything in one place. But that's not part of the current plans. I'll just be honest with you.
Only because based on the conversation we had about people that are underbanked, the Omni card offers that opportunity as well.
Okay. Well, thank you everybody for allowing me
you
this
so much,
opportunity to
Wayne.
be with you. And we'll be talking, and I'll be passing
Yes,
information
indeed.
along to Andrew and Lisa that they can share with the entire group.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
very
again.
much,
So much.
Wayne.
Thank
It's
you so
Omni
much.
time.
It's about
Anytime.
time.
Can you see my button? Can you see my button?
Now, what does it say? Come closer.
Oh, you couldn't see that, Lisa?
Ask me
No,
about
I have the wrong glasses on. Ask me about Omni.
It's about Omni, it says.
Ask me
Maybe
about
that's my new tagline. I don't know.
Right.
We'll see. If anybody has any suggestions, if anybody's an expert in marketing, you let me know. Marketing myself is not my talent.
Thank you so much, Wayne.
Thank you so much,
All right,
Wayne.
guys. Enjoy the
great.
day.
You too.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Lisa, do you want to give a quick before I do my report? You want to give a quick update on staffing issues?
Sure. We've been fortunate enough to have been able to interview and make offers to two people to fill two positions. And we're awaiting the start date for our administrative assistant, which we'd hoped actually would be today, but that did not happen. So we're waiting, hopefully in either 2 weeks or hopefully in 2 weeks that will happen. So, and then it's a long and involved process, or as Andy Byford would say, process. So the MTA HR processes roll along, and then the offer will be made to our research and communications associate. And hopefully by the end of the summer, there will be a merry 4 of us instead of a small but mighty 2.
Oh, I thought you were going to
As you
say
can
a
see,
dour
Bradley and I
two.
are both in the office today. So we're looking forward to doubling in size, which will be exponentially greater.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. So let me get into my report because there may be some questions. I'm sure everybody has heard that there is no fare hike happening in 2021. That's a good message to send to riders. It would have been the wrong thing. Now, there has been some talk about, because we got all the federal dollars, is another reason we shouldn't have raised fares. But that sort of leads the feds then to think we are relying on them every year for that. And that sends a mixed message. So I have a feeling that next year, when the fare hike is looked at, a piece of the 2021 fare hike may be incorporated in that one, so that it isn't a total loss of that revenue. That is not clear yet. The chair of the finance committee, Larry Schwartz, has talked about alternate sources of funding down the pike, because Bob Foran's report gave some sort of not so good news for the 2023, 2024 years and beyond. Again, deficits out there. Larry Schwartz has spoken about a different way to get to where we need to go, possibly without every other year fare hikes and without everybody possibly getting the same increase, depending on what part of the system you're on and how high your fares are already. And he has talked about possibly an Airbnb surcharge. I've talked about a gasoline surcharge, as have some folks in the state legislature. So down the pike, there may be a different look at funding. Unfortunately, Bob Foran's report did not take into account any revenues from congestion pricing. I asked about it. Others mentioned why that's not in the budget. They don't know when that's actually going to come through. They're in the midst of the environmental assessment. Outgoing Chair Foy mentioned that it could be up to 18 months. The environmental assessment is supposed to be much speedier than the environmental impact statement. Nobody seems to understand why it would take 18 months, but they have not yet appointed members to the Traffic Mobility Review Panel. The mayor has appointed one person. Don't know if this will happen while the mayor is still mayor or it will be under the new mayor. And then the new mayor would get to pick the person to represent the city. That is unclear. But there is in the language, and you probably saw, if you saw any of the news reports of yesterday's board meeting, board member Norman Brown said, the term right sizing is a weasel word. He says, I don't know any time that doesn't refer to a cut. It never refers to an increase when you talk about right sizing. But there is talk about right sizing service in the 2023 and 2024 budgets to help balance the budget. I raised the issue about if you're not accounting for any income from congestion pricing, you are still having pay-go capital, which means money from operations going into the capital fund, which is a drag on service revenue. We need that revenue. We don't want to cut service. That is the wrong message to send. I don't care when it is. If it turns out that people are commuting differently and more people are going at 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. than they are at 8:30, then you can adjust the levels of service, but that doesn't mean you cut. You adjust to reflect when people are traveling. But they have to have a train within a few minutes, or it's just not an option they're going to want. Another piece of good news, though, is that interim president and soon to be gone, but we don't know in what capacity, transit president Sarah Feinberg announced that by the end of summer, there will be cameras in every station and all fare control areas. These are the new lesser definition, but they can absolutely show a face and if somebody is doing something. So this should absolutely help security-wise to reduce crime in the system, because every few days we're hearing of some horrific crimes that are making the news. The horrific pulling down of a lady at Canal Street was just horrible. Somebody was punched at Grand Central the other day. I mean, it's just endless, and they're all getting tremendous news coverage, and we just have to get better coverage in our stations to reinforce that we're not going to tolerate this kind of behavior, as well as people not wearing masks.
Andrew, who would?
I'm sorry, Bert?
I wonder who would be monitoring these new cameras.
I asked whether they would be monitored in real time, and they won't. They will keep camera footage for every location for up to 30 days. But obviously, if there's an incident, we'll know it well before 30 days. So we can look back at or somebody can look back at the cameras. But they don't monitor them in real time, Bert. So they look at them when they, on a regular basis.
Did the police not say that some stations they do monitor? They have monitoring systems set up at the high.
Oh yeah, like Times Square.
Station.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the real high volume stations, and or stations where there have been multiple incidents. So everybody, I'm sure, has heard about Chair Foy being outgoing Chair Foy, and his last day is July 30th. Interim President Feinberg's last day in that role is July 30th. The legislature, specifically the Senate, has not yet reconvened to pass the bifurcation of the job of chair into chair and chief executive officer. It is unclear if that will happen prior to both folks leaving. This could leave a leadership void, although the governor can name somebody by executive fiat to take that at least one person, and that would be good for up to 6 months. I don't know if it's renewable, but most folks are guessing that might be Jano Lieber. We don't know who that would place at construction and development. We do know that they are doing a search for a permanent president of New York City Transit. That is a very, very important job and is a nationwide, if not a worldwide search that will be going on. So stay tuned to see who on August 1st is actually chair of the MTA, or acting chair or whatever, because that decision is not yet determined. Now, you have all heard about service issues, and that is stemming from a variety of reasons, not the least of which is the hiring freeze that took place during the pandemic and the slow rehiring of folks because there was a 3-month hiring process, training process for bus operators and an 8-month training process for train operators. That is an issue. They are trying to get folks back as quickly as they can without compromising safety, obviously. But there are some other service issues. And that issue is CBTC installation on the Queens Boulevard line has been causing some signal issues, which is affecting the E, F, M, and R trains. And if you just look at all of those routes and their on-time performance, you can see that this is an issue. They are aware of this issue, and they are working to fix these issues as quickly as they can, but unfortunately, they persist. And there are some issues on the Culver line too, as that work progresses.
Andy, can I ask you a question about that?
Yeah.
Because they talked yesterday about CBTC growing pains and integration issues. And I'm wondering, this is not something that was unanticipated, I think certainly by this group. When you put CBTC on a portion of a line and not on the other, how it's all gonna work and how it's gonna slow down, it's gonna work really well on one part and then not on the other. So do you think that, it's understood whether this is a success that has some, will ultimately be a success that just has some growing pains, or is this not something that will work? Can you successfully do CBTC on a portion of a system and not the entire thing?
Yeah, I asked that question several times. What happens to the increased frequency when it reaches the part of the line that doesn't have the new? And they said you can short-term trains, you can just hold trains at various places, which of course sort of undoes the benefit that you've just received. For instance, on the Queens Boulevard line, they are talking about the new signals between Union Turnpike, for instance, and on the F, 47th, 50th, and on the E, 50th and 8th. The 8th Avenue line will have its own CBTC installation, and they are planning for that, and that is one of the next branches that is going to get it. They have also said that they will be using ultra wideband frequency, which I think can help ease some of this growing pain because they do talk to each other. It is unclear how quickly that can be brought into the system, but they're aware that this installation and the way it's talking to existing signals and how trains are being delayed is definitely not a good advertisement for CBTC. I think when people see, the 7 and the L have it completed and folks there have seen the increased frequency. So everybody knows that this can work.
Right.
But those are the two discrete lines that don't run on anyone else's line, and everyone else is integrated with a bunch of lines. So it's a different animal completely.
What Shaul has put in the chat, if it's not working in other places, why do we think it's going to work here? So, I mean, is this something that, I would think personally, let's let somebody else fix it before we put it in. But
well, I think it has to work on a segment before you to say we're putting this everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of obvious.
Yeah.
We can have somebody come and speak to us on the subject. That might be a very interesting topic for another meeting. Whether it's somebody from Signals or Subways, but I think, or car equipment, or a combination of all three. Obviously, the new R211 fleet will be CBTC ready. Many of the other car fleets are CBTC ready, so it is not something that is going to be discarded, although I do know several folks that are not big fans of it. I have heard from them.
Thank you.
Yeah. So that's basically it for my report, but we have some time for new business if somebody would like to raise it. Chris Greif, I see your hand.
Yeah, because Lisa asked me to do this in it's really new business because I did put this on email. as you know, it's next Wednesday. They're going to do dedicate. Trying to get to my screen. Sorry. They are next Wednesday on July 28th at 11 a.m. The elevator at 175th Street on the A, which the entrance of the elevator is at 177 and Ford, Washington. They are going to do a special event for Edith Prentice and dedicate an elevator on Edith Prentice next week.
Next Wednesday.
Yes, I said next Wednesday, July 28th.
And what time is it for those that didn't get your email?
It will be July 28th at 11 a.m. It will
11
start.
a.m. at the 177th Street end of 175th Street.
Yeah.
And who's doing the event?
Q. Carmel had sent us out. He said, please make sure that Transit Riders Council is notified about this.
All right, well, we should talk to him about, instead of being notified, being involved. So,
I
Andrew,
agree, but that's something that we can talk off the video.
Yep. Andrew will reach out to him.
Yeah. And just to add one thing also with the system-wide accessibility, they're going to be restarting their meetings beginning this fall. They already created the subcommittees. One of them, I am now the chair of the technology committee. So I will be, Andrew, as you know, you heard me mentioning technology stuff to Wayne. I want to make sure that we're on the same length, Wayne. So technology is going to be an easier challenge for someone, but I'm ready for that challenge as well. And also, happy 8831 this Monday.
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, and also, Andrew, just to add one thing, because this is the regular new business. We also have been seeing problems, not just on the Queens Boulevard, but at the 59th Street Tunnel during Monday night to Tuesday, and I'm going to say a little bit of Wednesday. Signal problems at Lexington and 59th Street. And it's like, first the train's ready to go. Now the train's suspended. Now it's back. Then it's suspended. Or one way can go, only the R can go through north, but it has to be rewrite on the F.
Is this Manhattan bound, Queens bound, or both?
First it was, either way you say it, you're correct anyway, because at the first time it was a Brook downtown problem first. That they had to suspend the N and W because I know Bradley had been having a pissing match over there in the Queens side because with limited shuttle trains, as well as the R train was normally, but they were terminating the N train at Times Square and causing Q train delays and the W trains and the R train delays because I'm looking like, why can't the N just go up to 96? To get the traffic up, because then you're holding up trains and traffic and you're having a crowd problem at Times Square. Also, because that's a lot of crowd issues. And it's going to be difficult because if you're going to switch, say if I have to go to Times Square and get the 7, Queensboro Plaza is not really fixed yet because there's no hump for a wheelchair to switch over to the N and W. They have to stay on the R train to 74th or Woodside to go a different direction. There needs to be something, that signal needs to be fixed. Like they need to do a geo on the weekends and get it done. It's got to stop. It's getting too much stress.
Got a couple more hands, Chris.
Yes.
Jason.
Yes. Speaking about that, also I've been seeing a lot of meltdowns here in Brooklyn. Especially for the past few nights on the MyMTA app, to be exact, on the queue on Prospect Park, instead of having the Prospect Park shuttle, it all says queue. Regarding the time arrivals.
Huh.
And I have screenshot of it. This happened between 11:30 at night and 1 o'clock in the morning.
Huh. Okay, thank you for that.
And also, there's some buses of Michael J. Quill that still is having the same chronicle issue that bus drivers do not change the exterior destination signs on buses.
Yes, I've reported many buses with incorrect signage.
Lately on the M14,
It's a chronic, it's an issue. I'm always calling somebody to tell them this bus has the wrong sign, and they call the driver and they have them change it. It affects transfers, so it's very important.
And it's like, I'm getting so annoyed about it.
All right, let me move on, Jason,
Okay.
because we're really running out of time. Thank you for that. Andy Pollock.
Yes, so I brought this up to Lisa on voicemail yesterday that I wanted to give some departing remarks to Chairman Foy, because hopefully he'll be watching this. But I couldn't speak yesterday because I had work at the board meeting in person. So Chairman Foy, thank you for passing the largest capital budget in MTA history. It's a very important project because we're seeing it still to this day in action. And I just want to wish him the best in his future endeavors at the Empire State Corporation. And I wish the new CEO, Jenna Lieber, and the new chairwoman, Sarah Feinberg, on their future success.
Thank you for that, Andy. Just out of curiosity, the members of the council that are on the phone or on the Zoom call, how do we feel about meeting in person in September?
Fine with me.
It's okay.
I think that would be the time, right? Yeah. We're working on our August field trip. We will keep you posted on that.
I think, though, we need to have guidance that's followed in other government agencies, that there be social distancing and mask wearing for visitors and guests, as well as members of the board.
So I will tell you that in the in the MTA committee meetings and board meetings, which I attended in person this month, I was a little, put off. It was a little freaky, quite honestly, that nobody was wearing masks. I mean, the signs in the MTA building say that if you're vaccinated, you do not required to wear masks, and if you're not unvaccinated, you should. Nobody asks you for any verification.
Right.
It wasn't very crowded, but there was not 6 feet between us, right, Jason, and sitting in the chairs. I would say the board members didn't have 6 feet distance either. So what Bradley and I had said we were going to do was look to see if there was a hybrid way of being able to do meetings, at least initially, for people who are not comfortable or may not be vaccinated for health reasons, or may not be able to travel at this time. So we're not quite certain of that. I don't know. I mean, obviously they're having public meetings here, so we'll have to see what the availability of the rooms is also.
The problem with that is that if you didn't have camera equipment that could pan the room, people at home really wouldn't see the individual members, or if someone was speaking and you didn't have someone panning the camera. But certainly through the WebEx option or Zoom option, you're getting much greater participation, it seems to me. But I'm really for in-person meetings. There's with these other guidelines, and depending what room you get, you do have the ability to stagger the seating and keep people apart, and have a harsher standard that since we're not checking or asking or can't ask people their vaccination status, we'd like people out of respect to wear masks,
I don't know if the building doesn't require that, if we can require that or request it. Because there are some, okay. If the MTA has the equipment, when we've had our meetings in this building, in BC, right, before COVID, they've done the AV for us. So they've been able to do the wide shots. So that's been an option. But I do agree that we've had better participation. I mean, that's particularly true for the commuter councils, but that is not this meeting. We'd also have to see about our guests and our guest speakers and what they're available to do too. So
well, the hybrid model would work if they could beam into us, so to speak, from wherever they are. So
yeah. So this is Marisol. We actually started our in-person meetings today, and we had to do kind of a hybrid. We were in person, but some of the speakers came in virtually. I mean, it's quite an elaborate setup, but it's doable. It's just with this.
It's elaborate. I think that's true.
Lisa, are you planning a 12 to 2 time frame on this?
That's the time we meet. We
we
could,
have
I
one.
mean, if there's, yeah, so I don't know about, then we have the whole lunch thing, right? So-
We did our best to social distance, but I think if we make it a mandate, then for everybody's comfortability and
Obviously, we have to find out.
one other thing I'd really like to put out there. If we don't have an administrative assistant by then, I don't see us being able to do it. So we need the additional personnel on hand to take care of all of the logistics. So can we make that call and when we find out when our person's gonna start?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, because I think that's just, getting the room set up, ordering things, getting the supplies ready, doing the AV, and managing the rest of the things that we need to do is just, if we can make that call in a month, in August, I think that would be helpful for us.
And
All right, I wanted to get people's feeling about it.
well, also real quick, by that time, I'm going to talk to the IT people up on the 20th floor to see what they're able to do, because as Pat Foy mentioned at the board meeting, they are looking into that. So we need to find out what their capabilities of having a hybrid meeting within that short amount of time, if they're able to do that at that point.
Well, they did it for the board members and they did it for the media, so they can do it. It was a matter of choice for the public. So, that was because they were getting beat up by by a number of advocates, as they should have been.
Okay.
I have one question, Andrew.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this. I think that, Lisa, you have a good point, because the one thing that, if MTA board meeting can multitask, why can't we multitask? Because some of us may not can be there in person, but, we do have the Zoom, because if MTA is using Zoom, which is working very well, because at least you can hear people clearly better than WebEx, I think we should, we have till 2 months to work, to focus on this. We can say at this time to be announced for location or maybe on Zoom. Because in case, let's say that all of a sudden we can't get the room upstairs. That could be happening too. And the second question I was trying to add,
I'm sure there's some room we can get, but let's talk about it.
We need to know if we have, it's really gonna be dependent on if we have the support staff too.
Yeah. I didn't want to say the support staff because that's another to be announced as well. Either way, it's still to be determined. Let's hope we get them, because it's not fair for you two doing all this extra triple work. But I hope we do get a good trip to go to, Andrew, in the next month. And do we have a date, if it is a date?
We're waiting to find out.
We'll keep you posted.
We're waiting to find out.
Well, I think we're way over time. So thank you, everyone, for your sticking through it and for your contributions. And we will be in touch.
Thank you.
Of course. See you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.
Everyone.
Feel better, Sharon.
Thank you.
Yeah, don't watch your step.